The next day I was kind of hoping that Jen wouldn't show up to school so I could pretend like our conversation never happened. But as my luck would have it, or not, I suppose, there she was, sitting in her usual seat. She smiled at me as I walked into the classroom and met me by my seat. "So I'm ready for today. What about you?" she asked too excitedly. Yeah, my mom said it's okay, so just walk home with me," I told her, sounding too shy. The rest of the day went by uneventfully. Jen and I had lunch again, but just talked about classes and normal teen stuff. Honestly, I can't remember any of it. Finally, after a full day of unexciting class, the last bell rang, and Jen nearly ran to my desk. "Come on, hurry up, let's go!" She was practically yelling at me. "Alright, I'm going, just calm down and stop yelling," I said as she was almost hopping up and down. As I finished packing up my stuff and got out of my seat, she grabbed my hand. For a moment, all time stopped. My heart suddenly started racing. She then nearly dragged me out of the classroom, outside and down the street. She dragged me pretty far before stopping and looking back at me. She said, "Wait, where do you live?" I sort of chuckled a bit, and still hand in hand started leading her down the street we were on. "You had the right direction. It's actually not too far down the street here." She caught up and let go of my hand, and we walked the rest of the way to my house. It was a fairly large house, especially seeing as it was only my mom and me living there. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-story house. And my both my own room and my mom's had its own bathroom. Hers on the second floor, mine in the basement. And on the first floor was a third bathroom for guests. Jen's mouth was hanging open as we walked in. The walls and corners were taken over by art from around the world. My dad used to bring home stuff all the time when he traveled for work, I told her over my shoulder as I took off my shoes at the door and headed down the hall towards the kitchen. "Your house is awesome and so big, and all this stuff is so cool," she said, catching up to me near the kitchen. "Thank you." My mom walked into the archway to the kitchen. "You must be Jen. It's nice to meet you." Jen was a bit startled, so I introduced her. "Yeah, Mom, this is Jen. She's the girl I told you about. Jen, this is my mom." Jen finally got her composure back. "It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me over." Mom smiled and said, "It's no problem at all. We love company. Will you be staying for supper? I have lasagna in the oven. I'll be making some garlic bread and Caesar salad in a little bit." Jen was wide-eyed again. Well, I don't want to impose," she said, a bit shy. "It's no trouble at all. There's more than enough for 3, my mom told her reassuringly. "Oh, well then thank you. I would love to stay for dinner." Jen was still a bit caught off guard. "How long till supper?" I asked before my mom could ask Jen any more questions. "Oh, it'll be about 3.5 hours yet." I nodded and started to head to the living room. "Okay, well, we'll be in my room. Just call down when supper's ready." "I'll show you my room," I said to Jen, snapping her out of her stupor. She said goodbye and thank you to my mom again before following me out of the kitchen. "Wow, your mom is awesome. I never get anything like that for supper. It's usually frozen stuff, you know." She was looking all over the living room. She saw the stairs and started heading towards them. "Hey," she looked over at me. I was standing by the door. "It's this way," I said as I opened the door that led to the flight of stairs heading down. Again, there was a look of surprise on her face. My mom lets me have the basement to myself. It gives me more privacy. She had a strange look on her face. "You have to stay in the basement?" she asked. I smiled and said, "Close your eyes and follow me." She was a little nervous, but did. She looked a little scared walking around with her eyes closed. So I walked up and took her hand. She relaxed, smiled, and tightened her grip on my hand. There it is again, that same feeling from the classroom. I led her down the stairs slowly. When we reached the bottom, I told her to wait and went to make sure things weren't a mess. I picked up and threw out a few pop cans lying about. "Okay, you can open your eyes again," I shouted back to her as I walked back into the living room part of my basement sanctuary. Wow. She trailed off and just looked around for a little before asking, "Do you get all this to yourself?" We were standing in the living room part of my basement, one side dominated by an armchair, love seat, and large couch. Not that I needed that many seats. I didn't really have friends. There were a few people I talked to at school, but not really anyone to hang out with after school. On the other side of the room was a large 50-inch flat-screen TV with a Blu-ray player, satellite, VCR, and PlayStation. Beside the TV was a large cabinet housing all my games and movies. Above the furniture was a small window that let in very little light, but enough that during the day an overhead light wasn't needed. We were facing the window, and to our left was two doors. One led to my bedroom, and the other was my bathroom. The bathroom was like any other bathroom, with a bathtub, shower, sink, and toilet. Nothing special there. Just your basic everyday bathroom. My bedroom had my computer and a smaller TV. I like to watch movies before bed, but again, nothing really exciting there. To our right was the room that held all of my workout equipment. I had free weights, a chin-up bar, heavy bags, some practice swords, and my knife wall. The knife wall was what I used to practice knife throwing, and I trained in two fighting styles. Muay Thai is a style of hand-to-hand combat using elbows and knees quite often. As I'm smaller and don't have a lot of muscle mass, this was the perfect style for me because it used multiple muscles in one hit. The other combat style is bladed weapon training, swords, knife, and polearms. I never expected to use it, but it was fun to practice, and I practiced every day. The knife throwing was my sport of choice. I'd been in a few competitions and placed top 3 in each one. Jen was looking around amazed. She saw my training equipment, and her jaw nearly hit the floor. We can go to my room or just chill out here. What do you want to do?" I asked her. She jumped, a little startled at my voice, but quickly regained her bearings. "Where do you feel most comfortable?" she asked in return. "I suppose my room," I said with a shrug. "Okay, well, let's go then." She was smiling now, back to her usual self. I led her to my room and opened the door, letting her go first. She walked in, went to my bed, and sat down cross-legged. I went in, closed the door behind me, and started walking towards my computer chair. She giggled, and I looked over. She patted a spot beside her on the bed. "I won't bite, I promise," she said, still giggling. I walked over and sat down beside her. It wasn't a big bed. We were sitting very close together. I could feel my heart racing. I looked at her and said, "So now what? What do you want to know?" She thought for a moment and asked, "Can you control it?" I nodded in response, still a little nervous talking about this with someone. "Okay, we'll do it right now," she said, laying back on the bed. I was a bit surprised, but did the same and started the little ritual I did every night. I thought about flying. I concentrated on the weightless feeling you get being outside your body. I started to feel tired, and my body felt light. I started to hum a low note quietly as I started drifting off to sleep. Suddenly, I'm standing beside the bed, looking at me and Jen laying there with our eyes closed. I couldn't help thinking if she wanted to see me do it, why did she have her eyes closed? "Hey, you're looking at the wrong place." I looked up startled. There was Jen standing on the other side of the bed looking at me, while standing over herself. I may have forgotten to mention I can travel outside of my body as well. This seems to be a good place to end off, because it's a good cliffhanger, and I ran out of time. That was a really big chunk of story. There'll be more coming on soon. I have most of the next part finished already. I actually wanted to get most of this third part done before I recorded and uploaded the second part, just for my own purposes. Anyways, that's really all the time I have for, so keep looking out for the next episode, or part of the reading. And as always, have a great day, everyone. See you later.